The airplane door opened, and I stepped into a river of motion. Shanghai didn't feel like a city waiting to be discovered. It felt alive and already mid-sentence, as if I had walked into a story that had been unfolding for thousands of years without pause. The terminal gleamed with glass and order. Mandarin voices rolled through the air like music, swift, tonal, and efficient. Even the moving walkways seemed to glide faster, confident in their direction. Outside the customs gate, signs flashed in English and Chinese. I followed the current toward the maglev train, China's floating masterpiece of technology. It hummed rather than roared, accelerating so smoothly that the landscape dissolved into watercolor. Fields, factories, and suburbs blurred into a single impression of progress until the skyline appeared. Steel spires rising from mist, their reflections shimmering in the Huangpu River. Shanghai looked less like a city and more like the idea of the future painted across the present. My taxi driver greeted me with a nod. I handed him my hotel address on my phone and he grinned, amused by my clumsy pronunciation. "Okay," he said, and the car slipped into the flow of evening traffic. Outside, the world glowed. Neon characters flickered above noodle shops, bicycles zipped past buses, and grandmothers walked Pomeranians in pink sweaters. Street vendors stirred woks over blue flames, and the scent of garlic, soy, and sesame filled the night. At a red light, a wedding procession crossed in front of us, bride and groom radiant beneath a canopy of red silk, firecrackers cracking like applause. Life here was perpetual, layered, contradictory, and completely at ease with itself. When I reached the hotel, I paused before entering. The skyline shimmered beyond the glass doors like a constellation. I realized that China didn't ask to be understood at once. It asked to be observed. I promised myself I would spend this journey not trying to define it, but to listen to it. Morning revealed the immensity of what I had entered. China stretches across nearly 10 million square kilometers, more a continent than a country, its landscape shifting from desert to jungle, from glacier to sea. Over 1.4 billion people call this land home, and somehow it works. Shanghai sits where the Yangtze River meets the East China Sea, a place that has always traded ideas as easily as goods. Beijing, far to the north, is the capital, the seat of the People's Republic, a single-party socialist state defined by order and speed. From the traveler's perspective, the system feels remarkably efficient. Trains to the minute, streets spotless, bureaucracy polite. Register at your hotel when you arrive. It's required but easy, and carry your passport when traveling between provinces. You'll find China safe, almost startlingly so. Families stroll late into the night, shops stay open past midnight, and the biggest danger is crossing the street before the light turns green. Still, the scale can overwhelm. Download a translation app, learn a few phrases, ni hao, hello, CC, thank you, and patience becomes your passport. In China, sincerity is understood even when words are not. What surprised me most, once I started tracing the map with my finger, was how China feels like several worlds sharing one name. To the west rises the Tibetan Plateau, the roof of the world, a high, sun-bleached expanse where sky and earth meet in a thin blue line. South of it, the Himalayas wall the horizon with peaks that redraw your sense of scale. The northwest unspools into the Taklamakan and Gobi deserts, seas of sand and stone where caravans once drifted like clouds along the Silk Road. In the north, grasslands stretch toward Mongolia, winters crisp and punishing, summers wide and luminous. Two great rivers anchor everything, the Yellow River, Huanghe, muddy and mythic, and the wide Yangtze, Changjiang, a working spine of barges, bridges, and cities. Farther south, the Pearl River Delta shimmers into the Greater Bay Area, Hong Kong, Macau, and Guangdong, braided by highways and ferries like a living circuit board. The coastline, long as a saga, runs from temperate Shandong capes down through subtropical Fujian and Guangdong to the balmy palms of Hainan. Climates change by latitude and altitude. Monsoons feed the south, typhoons visit the southeast from late summer into autumn, dust storms can sweep the north in spring, and alpine cold can bite the west when the sun drops. One practical quirk, the country runs on a single time zone, China Standard Time, so sunrise in Xinjiang can feel like a delayed greeting. Travelers plan by seasons and regions. Autumn, September to November, and spring, April to May, usually offer the clearest skies across the east and center. Summer brings lush greens and heat in the south, alpine clarity on high plateaus. Winter gifts Beijing stone and snow with stark poetry, but closes some mountain passes. Altitude matters. In Tibet and parts of Shanghai or Sichuan's west, acclimatize slowly and respect your breath. Far below, the rice terraces of Guangxi curve like fingerprints around hills, while karst towers in Guilin and Yangshu pierce the mist like pages from a painting. China isn't one destination, it's a compass. Point it anywhere, and the landscape writes a different story on your soul. To know the present, I went in search of the beginning. In the Shanghai Museum, artifacts whispered through glass cases, bronze cauldrons, oracle bones etched with early writing, jade discs polished smooth by hands long gone. Civilization here didn't grow from war, it grew from water. Along the Yellow and Yangtze rivers, ancient farmers learned to bend nature without breaking it, building a rhythm of respect that would echo through every dynasty. From these river valleys rose the Xia, the Shang, the Zhou, cultures that laid the foundations of philosophy, governance, and art. Then came the first emperor, Qin Shi Huang, who unified the warring states, standardized language and measurement, and built the first Great Wall. His terracotta army still stands guard near Xi'an, thousands of life-size soldiers carved from clay, each face different, each expression eternal. I took a high-speed train to see them. The trip was a lesson in modern precision, sleek platforms, spotless cars, attendants bowing before departure. Outside my window, the countryside unfurled, villages framed by bamboo, rivers looping like ink strokes on a scroll. When I finally entered the vast hall where the warriors stand, the air felt charged, as if time itself had paused to breathe. The soldiers stared forward in endless silence, an army built not for conquest, but for memory. It struck me that China's genius lies not in monuments, but in continuity. Empires have fallen and risen, yet the thread remains unbroken. The same characters once carved on bone are now typed on screens. The same philosophies that guided emperors still shape conversations in tea houses. Culture here is not displayed, it's lived. Confucius taught harmony through duty, Taoism sought truth in balance, and Buddhism offered compassion to bind the two. Together they created a moral gravity that still pulls daily life toward order. In Suzhou, I walked through gardens that felt like dreams, stones arranged to echo mountains, ponds that mirrored the sky. A musician plucked a guzheng nearby, its strings trembling like wind through reeds. Across the street, a tea house glowed with lantern light. Inside, a woman poured jasmine tea with movements so precise they seemed choreographed. Every gesture, from warming the cups to serving the final pour, was an act of reverence. Festivals fill the year with rhythm. During Lunar New Year, red banners bloom across doorways, and the night erupts in fireworks, each explosion a prayer for fortune. The Mid-Autumn Festival celebrates reunion. Families gather beneath a perfect moon, sharing mooncakes filled with sweet lotus or salty egg yolk. I arrived during the Dragon Boat Festival and watched teams row through green water to the beat of drums, a celebration of loyalty older than most nations. Even in the crush of modernity, the ancient remains close. Street artists paint calligraphy with water on stone sidewalks, their words fading before the sun dries them. In that impermanence lies something sacred, the reminder that beauty need not last to matter. Modern China hums with momentum. The country builds entire districts in months and highways that span deserts. Cities like Shenzhen and Hangzhou glow with innovation. Drones buzzing, electric cars sliding silently, skyscrapers designed like origami. Yet, beneath the circuitry, humanity endures. Mornings begin with Tai Chi in the parks, slow movements mirrored by cranes flying overhead. Office workers buy steamed buns on their way to work. Students laugh in subway cars. Grandparents line dance to pop music in open squares. Progress here hasn't replaced the past, it has absorbed it. As a traveler, the contrast feels magnetic. One moment I'm paying for dumplings with my phone, the next I'm lighting incense at a temple whose stones were laid before the birth of Christ. The digital and the divine coexist comfortably. Perhaps that's the real secret of China's endurance. It never discards, it evolves. Traveling here can fit any budget. Street food offers feasts for pocket change. Noodles slick with sesame, dumplings steamed to perfection. skewers dusted with cumin and chili. For mid-range travelers, high-speed trains, boutique hotels, and guided tours make comfort affordable. Luxury unfolds quietly. Tea served in porcelain, silk robes folded at turn-down, a private view of the Forbidden City's golden roofs at dawn. I'd rate China a solid $. Accessible elegance, save on transport, indulge in experiences that deepen understanding, hire local guides, they'll turn history into conversation. Spend more on time than souvenirs. The memories will weigh less in your suitcase and more in your heart. Travelers should also know the unspoken rules. China is incredibly safe, but scams sometimes target kindness. If a stranger invites you to a tea ceremony or art show, decline politely. Avoid arguments in public. Raising your voice causes both sides to lose face. Offer and receive with both hands. In temples, move clockwise, never point at statues, and leave donations quietly. The internet is filtered, so install a VPN before arrival if you need Western sites, or embrace local apps like WeChat and Alipay. They're efficient and secure. Bring tissues for rural restrooms, carry your hotel card in Chinese characters, and remember that a smile here solves more problems than money ever could. China rewards humility. I've been escorted through train stations by strangers, handed umbrellas in sudden rain, and offered tea by monks who said nothing because words would have been too small for the gesture. Transportation is part of the adventure. High-speed rail is the country's circulatory system, smooth, punctual, and breathtakingly scenic. Subways are immaculate, taxis metered, and even small towns hum with electric buses. If you can read color codes, you can navigate anywhere. And then there's the food, the most democratic art form on earth. In Sichuan, the heat dances on your tongue until you forget the word moderation. In Canton, dim sum arrives in bamboo baskets like edible jewels. In Beijing, roast duck is carved tableside with ritual precision, its skin crisp enough to shatter. Street snacks change by province, scallion pancakes in the north, stinky tofu in the south, and sweet rice balls floating in ginger syrup during winter. Each bite tells a story written long before you were born. As for practicalities, modern restrooms are abundant in cities and spotless in malls. In rural regions, simplicity reigns. Carry tissues and a sense of humor. Travel humbles before it enlightens, and humility is the best souvenir. For digital nomads, the country is paradoxical perfection. Internet speeds are lightning fast once inside the system. Cafes hum with laptops beside steaming cups of green tea. The challenge is adaptation, but those who manage it find creativity flowing faster than Wi-Fi. I came to China chasing the ghosts of dynasties, but what I found was a nation alive in every moment. It's not a museum of wonders, it's a conversation between centuries. History whispers from every wall, yet tomorrow is already being built outside your window. One evening, I stood on the Bund as dusk painted the river bronze. The colonial facades behind me glowed amber, while across the Huangpu, Pudong's towers blazed in electric color. Between them flowed the river, carrying barges heavy with cargo and dreams. Families laughed, lovers posed for selfies. A street musician played an erhu that cried like wind through bamboo. The scene was timeless and brand new all at once. In that light, I understood what it means to travel through China's timeless soul. It isn't about checking monuments off a list. It's about letting the scale of civilization remind you of your own smallness and finding peace in it. China endures because it understands balance between past and future, silence and ambition, order and imagination. It holds a harmony the rest of the world is still learning to play. This is passports to the past. Travel smarter, see deeper, and remember, we know where the bathrooms are.